What's up, guys? This is Rey-Jay back with another video. And today I want to talk about what's happening with NIO, Tesla, SPY, and the broader markets. I'm going to break down why NIO got this big rug pull and what's going on with all this news coming out involving Donald Trump. Just note that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 30 in total. And the offer ends very soon at the end of March. Anyways, as far as NIO is going, we got this rug pull losing that support at 4.45. Once we lost this, we saw this thing continue to dump towards the 4.2 area. So why did the market dump like this? What's going on? Let's talk about this. We had some very, very big news that came out. It caused the whole market to dump, looking at like tech, finance, and many other stocks out there. Health was doing a little bit better, but the majority of stocks were still in the red. We even saw many of these consumer durables, retail, and finance all selling off. So just keep that in mind. NIO had some good news. That's the fact that their deliveries were up about 62%. That's pretty decent considering the fact that it was Lunar New Year. And during that period, the sales tend to be weak anyways, but that is what's been going on. But what's happening with these tariffs? So as a reminder, Mexico, Canada, and China are the top 3 trade partners of the US when it comes to being individual countries. And for now, with these 3 individual countries being big trade partners, Donald Trump has imposed more tariffs on these countries. A lot of these different products are going to be affected by this, but Donald Trump, once again, has doubled down on the Chinese tariffs. So Donald Trump has doubled down on China with 20% tariffs. He's doing this as a result of many issues that he's been talking about. This is an executive order he just signed, known as Executive Order 14195. It hikes tariffs on Chinese imports from 10 to 20%, citing Beijing's failures to deal with lots of different problems in the US. That's what Donald Trump claims as one of the main leading factors for doing this. He also does this because he believes there's massive trade deficits, and this is for fairness for the US. He also mentioned that Donald Trump told reporters that he's going to continue to do this. Tomorrow, we're going to be looking for 25% tariffs on Canada and 25% tariffs on Mexico. And that's the start that Donald Trump is telling reporters, at least so far. And then on top of this, he is talking about how they're taking adequate steps to continue to do what's necessary. He also did this because he claims that this is his way of protecting the U.S. And he went over many other things. That's very, very important, and this is going to be having a big effect on different products. This is what Donald Trump's opinion has been. As a reminder, right, when we see the tariffs going up in Canada, it's going to be affecting lumber, charcoal, aluminum, iron, steel, appliances, cereal, and a bunch of milk products, dairy products, rubbers, alcohols, umbrellas, the list goes on, all kinds of like textiles and carpets. So lots of products are going to be affected by this. Don't forget about the maple syrup. And it's going to be very, very important. I also want to add that we also depend on Canada for petroleum. So they're actually a big trade partner of the US. Just keep that in mind. That's going to be affecting us. Also, when it comes to Mexico, the tariffs on them are going to be affecting processed fruits and nuts, paper products, cereal, tomatoes, onions, lettuces, cabbages, the list goes on. Lots of different foods like beers, coffees, teas, meats, fish, sausages, and the list goes on, avocados. We also depend on them for auto parts and manufacturing, so that's going to be affecting things. Tariffs on China could also be affecting like fish and other crustaceans, vegetable fats and oils, soaps, lubricants, other things such as like sugars, and the list goes on. There's a lot of products that are going to be affected by these tariffs. So please keep that in mind. Donald Trump is also saying that tomorrow we're going to be pushing for higher tariffs. I think he's going to be speaking in front of Congress tomorrow, so keep that in mind. Once Donald Trump opens his mouth, it may cause more volatility, so be ready just to be safe. And once again, he signed that executive order. We have the exact tweets right over here. On top of this, you have to remember that as things go on, we're going to be looking to see what happens. Canada is saying that it wants to retaliate. It's going to tariff more U.S. goods, so just keep that in mind. That's going to be affecting things a lot. And Donald Trump said that there's no room left and there's nothing that can be done. He's going to be increasing tariffs tomorrow. So this is what we're essentially looking for. We have the 10%, the additional 10% on China, which is now making this like 20% on imported goods with some exceptions. We have 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada. I believe there's going to be 10% tariffs on petroleum, though. So just keep that in mind. This is going to be affecting our GDP, possibly increasing inflation to some extent. Other countries may also try to tariff us back, increase tariffs back on the US, It's going to have a big effect on businesses. The government's going to make more revenue through this. Donald Trump is doing this for fairness, so we'll see how it goes. But for now, this is causing some fear for the markets. Now, tomorrow we have the Red Book data coming out at 8:55 a.m. Then we have the the economic optimism report at 10 a.m. Nothing else that's too crazy tomorrow. I also want to add that we have lots of retail stocks like Target and Best Buy announcing earnings in the morning, then CrowdStrike in the afternoon. There's a lot of fear right now. The market's still at extreme fear. There's no sign of a bounce yet. We're also very close to our 125 daily moving average on the S&P 500. We tried to bounce off of this and we're still rejecting. So we don't look like we're done with downside yet. The put to call option ratio is going up even more. Volatility is at extreme fear, so we'll see what this leads to. So for now, the market remains more bearish. As far as the market goes, NIO is rejecting here. We're looking for the support around 4.21. We're looking for a rebound move to about 4.35 before it continues to dip a bit. Might see a little bit more downside because once again, the tariffs are leading to lots of fears. And there's no sign we've bottomed yet. You guys can see we're still making lower lows. So it looks like we're trying to ride this lower trend line right here. So if you guys look at this yellow trend line, this is acting as support for SPY. There's a chance that tomorrow, if we do see the tariffs imposed, it could cause another dip move. So I wouldn't be surprised if we kind of like gap up in attempts to push a bit like this. And then we're going to be looking at this previous resistance right here, very close to 590. We might come short of hitting that. I do expect some kind of rebound move in the morning. Then there could be another rug pull around this 580 area. We have to hold 580. Otherwise, we're looking for a move down to about 575. All the way down to where the support is right here. That's where the next support is going to be, where this blue trend line is. That's based off previous levels. This is previous resistance becoming support. So that's going to be coming next if we end up losing 580. So there could be another rug pull move. And then we'll see if we bounce between 575 to 580. So keep that in mind. For the QQQ, this is looking bearish, making lower highs and lower lows. We could attempt to bounce into like the low 500s before we continue to dump. So just keep that in mind. We have a bearish divergence on the QQQ. We were not able to hold up. And there's no guarantee we've bottomed yet. It could still take some time for us to get that true bottom. So there's still going to be that risk of downside. Russell 2000 is looking kind of weaker. We could try to rebound in the morning for like 212 before we continue to fall if Donald Trump signs more tariffs. The market is panicking right now. ES dipped quite a bit. It is trying to rebound in the after hours, forming a wick here, but there's no guarantee we're done with the selling yet. We could rebound for like 5,900. If we can't hold above that, then we are going to continue to fall for even lower levels. We could be dipping all the way down to like 5,800 or so. So be careful. NQ is on a downtrend. We could attempt to rebound towards 20,750 before we continue to dump to the lower 20,000s. Bitcoin is rejecting right over here. As you guys can see, we're making lower highs and lower lows. We were trying to bounce temporarily because of the crypto reserve that Donald Trump was talking about. But unfortunately, we could be looking for another rejection here if we don't hold support, taking us down to like 85,000 to 82,000. Nvidia is on a bit of a downtrend. We're making lower highs and lower lows. We could attempt to rebound for essentially 117 before it rejects and starts dipping towards 112. So there's going to be a risk of some downside. On Tesla, we're making lower highs and lower lows as well. So we'll see how it goes. We could rebound a bit before it continues to dump. Unfortunately, there's no guarantee we've bottomed yet, especially as we still have these gaps to fill on Tesla. So there's still that risk of downside. The rebound did come, but it was not able to hold. Apple's barely holding this trend line. We got to see if this trend line holds tomorrow. We should rebound a little bit. But if we lose this trend line, we could be dumping towards 232. So please be very careful. For a few more, we have, just to double check, Coinbase. This is looking weak. We tried to bounce after the crypto reserve news only to get a big rejection. We're looking to see how this is going to be dipping. It could be retesting the low 200s. Amazon is showing no sign of a bounce yet. When you look at like the daily charts, we're still relatively weak. And my main concern is these gaps over here. So there's another gap over here around 198. We have a bunch of them in the 190s. And we're going to be watching at 201. So I think we rebound a bit, then test 201 or below, and we'll see if that holds or not. Meta is just barely around 655. That's very close to our 658 supports. So we'll see if we try to hold that in the morning tomorrow. But if we can't hold that, there's going to be a risk of us dipping closer to about 643 all over again. Microsoft's on a bit of a downside move. We've got this rejection. We could rebound towards 390, the low 390s before it starts dipping for 385 or lower. On Google, we're also dipping here. We're making lower highs and lower lows, so we could be dipping towards 165. So just keep that in mind. On top of this, I just want to mention that the VIX is very, very elevated. It's at 22.7. There's no sign it's done yet. It's still bullish. So this is another signal that the market remains more bearish. So With that being said, I thank you all so much for listening. Unfortunately, the inverse head and shoulders like patterns have failed and the market remains more bearish. In terms of NIO, we're continuing to reject, so just keep that in mind. We are looking weak on the dailies, so be very, very patient nonetheless. That being said, I am eyeing the possibility of an inverse head and shoulders, but the daily does look weak, and I don't think we're done yet with downside because of all this fear that's being incited by these tariffs. So please be very careful, especially as we have the Canadian and Mexican tariffs coming as soon as tomorrow. So I wouldn't be surprised if we attempt a morning rebound for like the 4.35 area, but then we may sink lower all the way down to the lower fours if the market continues to dump. That could drag NEO down, especially because China is getting involved. I thank you for listening, guys. Unfortunately, this is some new news, but the long term still remains very bright despite this. Have a good day and peace out.